you want to look at Neptune 150 minus 1, that might work.
Yeah.
You know, it's not as precise. But I like the 30 setting at the different factor because it's happening less frequently. And that also served as resistance here.
Wasn't a whole lot different.
Yep.
If we change, like, not that I'm you know me, but if we change, like, you're on line to G24 millimeter minus 1, and so we look at and that will put the since the Uranus is important to the speed.
Mm-hmm.
So we're expecting, the way I understand it, we're trying to expect it to creep up the line and bounce off of it, possibly.
Well, for the NASDAQ, for example, yeah, the Dow weekly,
Yeah, if we change
the setting, okay.
yeah, minus 1. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, you can do that.
And so, since we were, the March low was important to the north node, right? And we found that it bounced off of that line, then are we
Yes, good point. Yeah.
not a predictor there?
Actually, Rich mentioned projection of like, what, 10,560 or 50?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, if you adjust the factor for Uranus minus 1, you notice that turns into the Uranus 360 line. So really the Uranus 24 minus 1 line is really at 10,560 approximately is the Uranus 360 first harmonic line, right? So if the market continues to rally, it's going to should be limited or should react to resistance at 10,560 for the next couple weeks or through the month of May. So that would be a point to sell and take profits and not be greedy, because that's as far as it may go. Now, what did the market close at today? Was it down or mixed or?
Dow closed at plus 10,372.
So was it?
Plus 3 points.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah. But it was as high as 10,306, so it was exactly 7 points off of that.
So this suggests a limited move up to resistance. So whether we blow through this line or not, at the first passed attempt, it should react and come back down off the Uranus 360 line, because Uranus is on the 24, crossing the 24, and this is the first harmonic Uranus line. So you can make a good, solid projection, if you want to call it a prediction, that if price hits this Uranus line, it will come down, at least on the first attempt. And if it blows through that shows a lot of strength, but doesn't look very likely right now. This could be any time this month, but we know a big reversal period is around the 17th, when Venus and Neptune go retrograde. Yeah, and plus we have the Neptune 30 line close to that, right? At the factor 0, right? So hopefully you're seeing that we got a point of confluence here. We have Neptune 30 line factor 0, and we have Uranus 360 line minus 1, all coming together at this point.
If you actually put in the 150 line, and that was the 150 line there, not being just 30, would that make it stronger, you think? You see what I'm saying? Since that's the aspect?
Well, it's
Something you pay attention to?
yeah, it might be stronger, but it seems not to work as well as the 30.
Right, I know you would have the 30.
And it's gonna disappear here.
Right. But I'm saying if you run into a situation, not necessarily with this chart, where you're putting 30s on, then you got a income jump to a subsequent, that's the square.
Right.
and you put 135 on there, and it's right at price, that might be stronger than if it was hitting at just a 45 degree.
Well, I never use 135 because even with different factors, that's not evenly into anything. But 150 can work. Yeah, so to answer your question, if it is 150 versus 30, that could be stronger because it happens less frequently. But depending on the factor, that may or not work, may work or may not work as well. Because if it's 150 relative to 3600, that's like the 24th harmonic, or 15, relative to 360. So this is what you want on your longer term charts. And you may have to adjust the factors here. And I don't know if any of you follow Elliott waves. Sometimes it works or sometimes it doesn't. But if we broke above the Uranus line, that would be bullish. If we went up and retested it and failed, that would be bearish, right? Because that's wave 2, correct? And then if we break through the Jupiter North Node line, we could be in trouble. We could come down. But I already have a projection of where it could go. But this is what you want on your charts to start with. Now let's go to May, and hopefully you get the feel for this. You can put this on all of your weekly and monthly charts for whatever market you're trading. And it's very simple. You just click on the aspect research like I did. You have the interplanets unchecked, and you click on the month, or just print out the whole year right here, and you have it right in front of you. Now with May coming up, well, we had Jupiter sextile Saturn, right? We already have the Jupiter 120 lines on. And if it worked at factor -1, we're not going to mess with the factor because the low is precise at that level. So now we're going to change it to 60. And what else do you see here? We got a convergence zone here with Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus all at this same range. Now we're going to add Saturn to the chart here because Jupiter, Saturn are sextile. So these lines are going to come together. And there's the Jupiter-Saturn sextile right up here. Well, no, I have Jupiter on at 60. And then on the 22nd of May, Saturn sextiles the North Node. So we're going to change the North Node setting to 60 also, and you'll see how it all comes together. You want to mess with that resistance area? Kind of like one roadblock after another, after another, after another, and it's what I call a convergence zone with planetary price. At the first attempt, I doubt it's going to blow through. Very unlikely. Maybe a second, third attempt. Unless we gapped over that, but
From your experience in there, it does blow through. If it has to like retest it and disappear, it goes straight down.
as a general rule, if it blows through, it turns into new support.
So it'll come back and retest it a little bit then. I mean, the thing is, if you're not in the trade, then it goes through and it doesn't really, just retest. Once it blows, say it blows
I mean, on the way up, if it blows through resistance or support? Okay.
through resistance, does it tend to just put down and test it now as support and then take off, or is it just going to take off?
If it blows through, the safest trade would be a pullback to the line, because that would turn into new support. Usually it holds here, but sometimes it'll blow through and then come back down. So that's why if it we need to close above the planetary line like Tim talked about, and then you need that high taken out as a continuation signal back up. But that's such a strong resistance area, it's doubtful it's going to blow through. So this gives us a price range of strong planetary resistance on the weekly chart, just with the outer planets, at 10,540 all the way up to 10,611. So that's like an 80-point price range of resistance in the month of May that we've already determined. That could be a good setup to sell again, if that happens with a reversal signature or at the time of an aspect. Yeah, sometimes, yeah. That's usually the most effective way. But yeah, you know, when the market's choppy and sometimes, or volatile, you get in trouble that way, but that usually works. Yeah, that works more times than not, but depends on the conditions. So this is what it looks like. Now, do you want to do it again on another chart? Yeah. Good practice? And then we can get into some daily stuff where we can take a break. So that's what it looks like for the Dow. If you want the levels for the S&P, I'm going to go to, let me find a daily chart.
You got daily this time?
No, I want to go to weekly, but I want to go daily. And I'm going to delete my planetary lines and start from scratch. Okay, yeah, this is S&P cash index. We're going to look at some levels here. And we're going to do the same exercise. If you have the combo, you can click on the bottom right corner on TF for time frame and just click weekly, W for weekly. The next period's monthly, M, and highest is Q for quarterly. Now we got a weekly chart looking much smoother. Now let's start with March again. Let's go to planetary lines and start with Jupiter. Okay, we got some people that just bought the program or don't have the program. Did you just get it or are you demoing it?
No, I got it.
You bought it. So they just got it. So you've got.
Yeah, you go so fast that it just.
Okay, let's go to planets. Step 1.
There you go. Everybody there? Okay.
Step 2. Planetary lines. Okay, then we'll go to Jupiter. Double click. I have a Mercury-Mars conjunction. I don't know. I kind of talk quickly sometimes. I think quickly and talk quickly, and it comes out. Then I have Mercury retrograde, and sometimes I have to repeat what I say because I talk too quickly.
Now you
And then
have a default of Geo somewhere, and I know nothing here.
you can change your default to Geo, whatever setting. So you have to edit your setting to G. But we're going to add Neptune. Okay, so let's go to Jupiter and edit the line. And we're just going to change it to 30. And then Neptune, we're going to highlight, edit the line, change to 30. And this is what it looks like at this factor. We might adjust this. We also have Jupiter North Node, trying the North Node, 120 degrees. That means Jupiter North Node equals 120 lines. I wrote that on your sheet so you know what settings to use. Let's go to planetary lines now and add the North Node. Scroll down to North T Node price line, double click. Okay, and you add it to your indicator. You highlight the indicator. Click on Edit. How am I doing? Is this good? Okay. Now you go to Universal Clock Division. We type in 120. Exit. Exit. It's not showing up because the factor's not adjusted yet. Now we're going to click on the 120, the North Node line, and adjust the factor to -1. And this is what it looks like. Okay, so what does this tell you? What's going on here? Look at the low in March. See the thick North Node line? That's the 360 line. But we broke through the 360 North Node line here in January. This is a weekly chart.
So we can put the both stochastic on that sticker, right?
I'm using a -1 here. Right. Yeah, at this point we're doing that to see which fits right, what works the best, okay? Like we did with the Dow chart at factor -1 for the Jupiter North Node line.
So why couldn't we do a template?
You could do that. Yeah, you could do that. That's another option. If you know how to do that, you could go to template and you could create a template and just transfer it on to the next chart. Yeah, for the S&P. Yeah. So once you do this once, you don't have to keep doing it every time. Yeah, once you create a system or settings, you can create a template and save it, and then you can just put it on your charts. Okay? But this is what it looks like at factor -1 for the North Node line. And with Jupiter Neptune at 120.
So how do you read that? What do you think is it really probably
There's something else that price is going to, since it's broke out above the North Node line. So we want to look at the Uranus line now. Let's add the Uranus line. So we're going to go to planetary lines. And double click on Uranus. And we're going to click on Edit. Type in 24. Okay, there's your answer. He asked, what do you make of that since price broke through the North Node 120 -1 line? Well, we've got to look at where it's going, what other harmonic or planetary line it's going to. Well, it went up to Uranus, 24 line again.
So in a sense, there's no such thing as a false breakout. If it goes through, something else is happening.
I agree with that theory. It's going to another planetary price level. So the Uranus 24 line has held resistance for the S&P. And that's what it looks like on your longer term charts. I think we're probably due for a break. We could take a 5-minute or 10-minute break and come back for maybe another 45 or an hour. Does that sound good? Does everybody have to be finished by 6 o'clock, or do you want to go to maybe 6:15? Is that okay? Okay, and then we'll probably end by 5 o'clock tomorrow. And I'm going to put you to some more work tomorrow. And then we're going to get into some more advanced stuff tomorrow and intraday stuff. But this is basic setups for your long-term chart, and I'm going to show you how to set it up for your daily charts too. So let's take like a 5-10 minute break.
Yeah, that's in there.
Okay, we're gonna start now. I'm gonna go back to the Dow cash chart. If everyone can pull it up again, I want to make a couple points. And this is what it looks like, a weekly chart going back to January of 2003 with these current settings on. And these settings are working well with support and resistance so far in 2004, as you can see, right? If something works, then we don't want to fix it. Isn't that a saying or motto? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let me say, I got that backwards. Yeah. I'm going back to the Dow cash right now. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. If something works, don't try to fix it, or however you want to say it. Yeah, if it ain't broke, that's kind of what? Country. Southern. Resistance held here at this planetary price convergent zone. Support held at the Jupiter North Node line. And notice when we add the Saturn 60 line, that also comes together here. And that has been effective resistance so far in the month of March and April for the Dow. But we want to stay open-minded, and what if price does blow through here? Then you're looking at another target for the Dow, which is 11,200 at this higher harmonic level at these settings. And what would be a good idea in your longer-term price charts is also to create the same settings with the mirror settings on, because that will change things. And for example, if we blow through the Uranus 360 line, what does it look like with the mirror setting on? That changes everything. Changes it to 1100. And these are other possibilities. But so far, Uranus at the non-mirror setting is working perfectly. Right? So with these longer term settings, set up the mirror lines too so you know what they look like. And then going back to the S&P cash chart, this Uranus 24 line is working effectively with resistance. And Uranus is crossing the 24, right? So you're going to see Uranus crossing 1200, because 1200 is on the wheel of 24, right? 120. We go to planetary planets, and then to universal clock, after live planetary clock. You see 120 here? When planets cross the 24 line, that's what it is. It's 120, so that corresponds to 1200. And there's the Uranus line. So if we break above, we could go as high as 1208 for the S&P cash. And that would give you different levels for the Dow cash. Excuse me? Price and time are square. Right, well, yeah, it's at the your 1200, correct. That's a key number. So these are things to keep in mind, and then you can also run the mirror settings, which we didn't do, but
If you put the NASDAQ 100 on there, it shows how that's so much stronger too, because it jumped over that.
NASDAQ 100, or just the, okay, I have the NASDAQ cash, I don't have the 100, but we can throw that on if you want to look at it. There's a daily. Here's weekly. Wow. What if we went up to 2160, 2170?
See, this is kind of support. See how the
Yeah, now that would be the highest projection based on the vibration of Uranus at the 24 line. I say price vibration or harmonic vibration, so that would be a 240-point move. Right? And if it was a 240-point move, that would be a double top at the Uranus line, using just basic technical analysis. You can run a trend line. If you right-click on your chart, you go to Drawing Tools, you then could go to Trend Line, and you click on Use, and you could just draw a trend line across. You can raise it up. So there's a trend line that's very close to the Uranus line, right? So that would be a double top. That would be the highest price projection. You know, I'd be doubtful if it blew above 2165 or whatever level this is. 2170 about.
You know, once it breaks through that realm, and obviously the yellow, the Uranus line, is it kind of, you think you know, well, Uranus is now in control? Well, I can't remember what the drawing line was. That was in control for maybe a couple of years, but now Uranus is in control.
Well, Uranus is, or I don't say Uranus, but it doesn't matter how you want to say it. But Uranus is a dominant factor now over the next few months.
Which also could suggest that it's not going to go up, it's going to drop down to the next level.
If it broke through, yeah, or if it didn't come up here, yeah.
Gives you a sense that that's probably a target on the downside if it doesn't make it any further on that.
Yeah, and this looks bullish too because we made a low, and we just made a higher low at the longitude of Uranus, right at the 24 line. We made a low in March, and we just made a higher low the end of April, right? As long as support holds here, the Uranus line. If support begins to fail here, that's a major red flag. If we're going to rally back up. But so far, so good. That go down. Yeah, we want support to hold. We're going to have a rally back up. Continue to hold there. So that's what it looks like. Here's the Uranus 24 lines on a longer term chart. But Uranus wasn't crossing the 24, so it should be stronger now than it was in the past. But it held the low here back in August 2003. So this is something you can do for your longer term charts, and then on your aspect research, I've given you a quick run through of what to do in the month of May, and I showed you how to apply this in March and April. And then you can do the same thing as time progresses. You can keep adding these lines and settings on and adjusting your settings. So you then go to June and see what's going on in June. Here we have Jupiter trying the North Node again. Uranus going stationary retrograde. This is the NASDAQ composite.
Okay, that's what yeah.
So back to the Dow Cash. So you'd be adjusting your settings or adding your settings, adding new settings and new planetary lines, or adjusting the current planetary settings for each month depending on the aspects. Like for example, if you go to August, you'll see Jupiter squares Pluto again, right? In the month of August on page 14. Jupiter squares Pluto on the 6th of August. Here's a hard aspect with Saturn, Uranus, 135 degrees. Hard aspect with Jupiter, North Node, 135 degrees. Hard aspect with Pluto, North Node, 135 degrees. Pluto goes direct.
You made it there, yeah.
August looks like another turning period. So,
Full moon.
full moon, the end of the month. But Jupiter square Pluto, right? This, I think, is the third pass. And by the way, when you're looking at the outer planets, they form aspects usually 3 times. And if you print out your aspects for the year and last year, you can tell each time the aspect occurs. And this Jupiter square Pluto in August is the third final pass. So that's a more significant square. It's the last time it's going to occur.
Yeah, at Grace Moore's annual conference, everybody studied their self that in the past that we do right now. And I was looking to say that a lot of them aren't playing out that way. But, you know, they were in question about April and May and June, not about the summer and the rest of the remainder of the year. You know, kind of based on other war and fight between Syria and Bush. And whenever you have a massive election, apparently the market historically has done very well.
Right. Well, that may or may not play out, but however it does, you have all the tools here to go with the flow and trade on either side of the market. So it doesn't really matter if you're timing, but if you're just going long, then these are things to consider. But if Jupiter's squaring Pluto in August, and if you already have Jupiter on at 60, we just click on the line and change the setting to 90. And with one of the new options, you can scroll the chart to the left to the future. Okay? And now we have a Jupiter 90 line instead of 60 line. Now see how it changes? At 60, this is what it looks like. So what does that mean if it doesn't change on the upside when you change it to 90? What does that mean?
The harmonic.
Huh? Excuse me? No. Means it's a multiple of 60. Right. So 60 plus 60 is 120. And 120 plus 60 is 180. So that means that Jupiter line must be either a 360 or a 180 line. And it's not a solid 360 line, so it's a 180 line. So that's a stronger harmonic. And if we change it to 180, not 9180, but 180, it's 180. See? So you got to think with this program. You got to ask yourself, what's the harmonic at? Second harmonic. So 180, second harmonic is going to be stronger than a sixth harmonic, 60. Right? So that Jupiter line is going to be important. And then if you change the mirror, that's what it looks like, and it's way above, way up here. But I like the non-mirror right now with this. But you want to change the setting to 90, but you're aware that it's actually the 180 line. And if you look at August also, you see that Jupiter is sextile Saturn 60 degrees, right? That's why the Jupiter 60 line comes together with the Saturn 60 line. The Jupiter 180 line comes together with the Saturn 60 line. So that's strong resistance right here on the weekly chart. So you can determine what the key levels are in the future. You can scroll your chart to the left as far as you want to go. And here are all the other periods until the end of the year. So each month I recommend adding planetary lines and adjusting your settings. As the planets shift, you need to, the harmonics shift. And the price harmonics, vibration changing. So you have to adjust your charts. What worked in the past is not going to work in the future necessarily, because the planets are always moving. You have to change your planetary lines and adjust your settings. And that's very important on a daily basis. So what I like to do now is look at some daily charts, and I thought I'd look at a faster time frame and show you how I adjust my settings on a daily basis for reversal days during the week and intraday trading. So
is there any way that you can use something for the ephemera? Like reversal days?
yeah, you can look. All this is in the ephemeris, sure. Yeah, because all this aspect, all the reversal days I printed out are from our ephemeris. So yeah, you can get the same information. Now, does everybody have faster time frame data, like 15-minute chart data on indexes, or what should I use? Who would pick something you like to look at? S&P cash? Because I got the E-mini, but not everybody may have futures data. I can do Qs.
Or the cash, either one.
Let's see, I don't know if I have the data for the S&P cash, the 15-minute. Let me go down and see here. Yeah, here it is, right there. Yeah. I have a 15-minute chart, yeah. I want to see if I had one already up. Okay, this is a 15-minute chart for the S&P cash. And I'm missing some data here. Sorry.
How do you know that?
Because Mercury, let me see. No, I'm okay. Good, good. On one of my charts, I was missing data. Okay, this is good. We can work with this. So what we're going to have to do is look at the reversal days in April. So go to page 16. And what you're going to have to do on your chart is click on the upper right green square, and we're going to scroll back. Okay, you see what I'm doing here? You put your left mouse key on the scroll bar and scroll to the left. And we're going to go back to the beginning of April. I'm going to expand the chart so you can see it better. You can paper trade this way. I love doing this. This is great. Do you want to buy or sell right now? Are you a buyer or seller? If you want to be a buyer, buyer or seller? I want to stay long through this period. Okay, April 1st, April 2nd, we got some moon aspects. Let's go. Venus enters Gemini, Saturday, April 3rd, page 16. Sunday, Sun sextile Neptune, 60 degrees. We're getting information here. Sunday, April 4th. So what do? You can click on a price bar and get the same information, by the way. I need to go back to options. We got to check our inner planets once again. Sunday, April 4th, Sun sextile Neptune, 60 degrees. April 4th, Sunday, April 4th. You see in the bottom? So, if I wasn't here, could you set up your planetary lines correctly right now? Tell me what you would do now. Somebody tell me.
I put the sun line at 60, not reversed, and at the 0 factor first. See how that showed up, and I do the same thing with Neptune.
Very good. Gold star. Right. I mean, how much astrology do you need to know to do that? You don't need to know what the Sun or Neptune means. You don't need to know any of this. Just to put in the Sun-Neptune line at 60.
And it's nice that you gave us the 60 right here on this aspect line, so I don't even have to remember sextile 60 degrees.
Isn't that great? Yeah. Perfect. Okay, we go to planets, planetary lines. Double click on the Sun. Double click on Neptune. Highlight the Sun. Click on Edit. Your program may show Helio 24. You can change the default later if you want, but my default's at G15, like I mentioned earlier. So we're going to change it to 60. Click Exit. Go to Neptune. Edit. Type in 60. Exit. So the Sun and Neptune are going to come together now. We're out of here. Nothing shows up. Now we adjust the factor. So we click on Neptune. We type in, we want to go smaller, right? We don't want to go larger with the factor. You double click with your, or left click on your mouse. Okay, factor -1. Nothing showing up because the program made a factor conversion. It means the lines are 60 points apart. We need the lines 6 points apart. So the right factor is -2. Now they're 6 points apart. Look how well this just worked. Thanks. Okay, here's -2. We had the Sun sextile Neptune aspect on Sunday, April 4th. That happened over the weekend. That means Price could be responding to the Sun-Neptune 6 harmonic on the Friday or the Monday. On Friday, that was resistance and effective support. We gapped up. That turned into new support. On the 2nd, this is just one planetary line. On the 1st, it was effective resistance. So that was Thursday. So that means that Price was responding to the Sun-Neptune aspect 2 or 3 days ahead of the aspect. Somebody asked me, is it always on that day? No, it can be 2 or 3 days on either side sometimes. Sometimes it's ahead, sometimes it's after. So you have to put the lines on and see how it responds. But look at the 5th. On the Monday, the day after the aspect, we gapped up. The low was right at the Sun-Neptune line. We came back up. We came back down. The low is right on the Sun-Neptune line. By the way, I've never done this before. I'm doing this with you right now for the first time. So this wasn't, I didn't plan this. I just printed this out for April. I'm just following the code book here, what I do every day. So you want to be looking to buy in a pullback at the Sun-Neptune line at 1141. Now we're not looking at any other indicators or technical indicators. This is just all planetary. So this is what's called a planetary setup. The trend's up, and we're looking to buy in a pullback at the Sun-Neptune line. Then you use whatever other technical indicators or system you have to enter the trade. So if you go to indicators, some of the technical tools I use from Fibonacci Trader are the high-low activator. Let me get rid of the next one. Here's the high-low activator. So you could trade when it breaks above here, 1143. The stair step can be your trailing stop. Or you could use a faster time frame, and you could get in closer. You could use a 4 or 5 minute chart and get in closer to the planetary line and wait for a flip that way with the indicator.
You buy the other one, the next one.
Yeah, you buy a break over the high-low activator, but on the 15-minute chart, you wouldn't enter till this bar here when it broke above. But this is on the 15-minute chart. So you could get a closer entry to the planetary line. But your stop loss is underneath the Sun-Neptune line. Right? So what happened? I don't know what happened. It went up. So where's your profit point? Where are we right now? I'm not even going to go, I don't even know what the next bar looks like. So we're almost doing real-time trading. What Neptune line is that? 360 line.
I think I take my 3 points, whatever, take off that.
The harmonic vibration is 6 points because of the sextile. You want to take, that's a profit point right there.
Looks like we got invalid.
I take the profit.
So that's a winning trade. You want to take a third or half off right there. So odds are we're going to come back down from there. If we blow through, we'll turn it to new support. Okay, we're breaking through. You still would have taken profits right there. That's being disciplined. Or waiting, okay? See what the reaction is there. But I wouldn't take a chance. I wouldn't take a chance. I would take some off the table right there. So this market's very strong when it blows through the 360 line.
What did you go in and
Yeah, this is intraday. Yeah, this is 15 minute. Yeah, it's a Sun-Neptune. So, in my opinion, this bar here is close enough to the 360 line where I want to take some off the table. And then you can let some ride. The momentum is and volume strong enough to push through the line. We go through. We break through. So where are we looking price to go? To the next level, if it makes it up that high. But no, it didn't.
You probably
moved your stop up.
under the planetary line at that.
Yes, once price breaks above through resistance, it turns into new support. So your stop would be just below here. So we don't have other planetary settings on, but what happened here is this hit another planetary line based on another planetary aspect we haven't determined yet.
I know this is on the ego question. How come you decided that the Sun-Neptune was an okay one to use?
Because that's when the aspect happened on Sunday, the 4th. The Sun sextile Neptune on your aspect research on page 16. Yeah. You can double click on a price bar. We're looking at the... Yeah, open your notebook to page 16. I have aspects for April. On April 4th, Sunday, Sun sextile Neptune. Or you can double click on a price bar and you'll see it right on the chart here, Sun sextile Neptune. So we're putting in the settings, planetary lines, based on this aspect.
And we picked that because that was the only aspect that wasn't the lunar aspect. You're looking through the aspects of the most far planet.
Yeah, right. At this point, I'm just showing you on a daily chart with the outer planets. I'm not going to be getting into the lunar aspects quite yet, but you can also make up your settings for the lunar aspects, and that works very well in the faster time frames.
Right. Well, I just wanted to understand why that
Yes.
that one.
Yeah, this one was chosen. It was the only planetary aspect
Right.
occurring at the beginning of the month. Geocentric, a major aspect. So this was a winning trade, and once we broke above resistance, that turns into new support, and your trailing stop would be just below the line. You would have got stopped out with a profit. So that's a winner. You just made money on this trade if you followed the trend and the pullback into the planetary line. And it was a precise low at the planetary line here. It was the next day.
The market's closed on a day.
Yep. So if you're a day trader, you would have closed out anyways. So, you know, are you going to be greedy? Are you going to take profits at 1147, 50, 75? Are you going to be greedy and try to hold on to 1150 for another 2 or 3 more points? Okay, now the next day. Let's look at Monday. This was Monday based on the Sun sextile Neptune aspect on Sunday. We can also add more settings. We had Mercury semi-sextile Venus, 30 degrees. We had Mars square Jupiter. Now, when a market's trending up, any aspect to Jupiter or Saturn tends to terminate the trend. And the reverse is true when prices are going down. So Mars square Jupiter, when planets are trending up, could be a top. Either one. I've seen it on both sides. But Jupiter more frequently brings expansion in tops. But I can see those at bottoms. I see those at bottoms frequently too. And that was the case in gold. We had it at the top and recently in the bottom this past week. Well, I'm just saying an aspect to Saturn or Jupiter or Saturn could bring a bottom or a top in the stock market. I mean, any aspect can bring a top or bottom. But usually the Jupiter-Saturn aspects bring extremes, highs and lows, because it's, you know, extreme optimism or extreme pessimism. Especially hard aspects like conjunction, square, sesquisquare, semi-square, opposition. So Monday, Mercury semi-sextile Venus. We go to planetary lines. And what are we going to do?
We got Mercury and we got Venus.
Right, we add it to our menu.
Right, and then we're going to put 30 degrees.
We edit the line, type in 30. We're using factor -2. How far are the lines apart? At 30 minus 2. 3 points, $3. 3 points. We go to Venus, edit, G, 30 minus 2. Exit. So we're adding 2 other planetary lines. Now we have 4 on the chart. And this is what it looks like. We have one other aspect, Mars square Jupiter, 90 degrees. So we go to planets, planetary lines, double-click on Mars, double-click on Jupiter. We edit the Mars line to 90, minus 2. How far are the lines apart? 9 points. We do the same with Jupiter, 90. Minus 2, Mars, Jupiter. Well, that's the high right there. Okay, is that close enough for anybody?
That was, it happened after the market closed, and it closed up.
No, is at the close. Mars Jupiter is 1150. The high was 1150.25. It was one tick away from a precise planetary high at the Mars Jupiter line. That terminated the trend. That's what I mean by time and price being equal. So that's why we blew through the Sun-Neptune line. We didn't make it to the next Sun-Neptune line up here. It's because it hit the Mars-Jupiter line instead, and that terminated the trend. So that's a profit point. Yeah, now these lines you would have put on Sunday, before the market opened on Monday. So you're already prepared.
So you would have put in sun before the moon also, right?
No, I wouldn't put anything. These are just planetary lines at this point, based on aspects, not lunar aspects right now. So we put 3 pairs of aspects or planetary lines, and this is what the chart looks like. It gave us support and a buy signal at the Sun-Neptune line. We went up, we got a pullback almost at the Mercury-Venus line. The Mercury-Venus 30 lines are not doing much here. Remember, a 30 setting is the 12th harmonic, so that's not going to be as strong as the 6th harmonic 60 line or the 4th harmonic Mars-Jupiter 90 line. And we came up to the Mars-Jupiter line, which was the top. The Blau Echo. Do you want it in candlestick? I have it in candlestick. Histogram? Yellow? Doesn't matter to me. I don't use candlesticks. I prefer bar charts. So it's nothing right or wrong. It's just whatever you prefer. Yeah, I just don't use them. I just don't like to use them. But they can work for a lot of people.
It's not very.
So these lines worked effectively, and that's how simple it is. You got a trade opportunity here. You enter the trade, the technical indicator. This high-low activator serves as your trailing stop. You notice price never broke below it, and it took price went all the way up to the Mars-Jupiter line here. Excuse me? Yeah. So you can integrate this with your other tools that you learned this week, past weekend. And that's a nice move. If you entered at 1143, you took some off here at 47, and you got at least 4 points there. And if you left some on here, you could have taken profits at the Mars-Jupiter at the close and just been done for the day. Or if you got stopped out underneath the Neptune 360 line, you'd still be up 3 or 4 points. And you could have been up more than that, maybe, 6 points at the Mars-Jupiter line. So then you're thinking of doing what? Reversing position, right? And your stop would be above the Mars-Jupiter line. So your entry would be a break below the high-low activator. So we're going short now. Let's just say our entry point's 1146, and our stop's above the Mars-Jupiter line, a couple ticks above, we'll say 1150.75. So you're risking about 4 points per contract, and now you're short. You're still short. The high-low activator is now your trailing stop. right? So you could raise your stop here to break even. You're in a break-even trade. Now we're at the Mercury-Venus line here. You see this bar? That's a profit point. So you want to take some off here.
Is that because Mercury's retrograde?
It's because Mercury and Venus are semi-sextile, the 30 setting.
On that day,